So that
There's,
is what we have at the moment. Any other apologies?
yes, from Mr. Matutu. Apparently, his child is going to theater this morning.
Okay.
And also, there was an apology from Deputy Minister Mahlobo. He's out of the country on ministerial duties. That is all, Chairperson.
Yeah, and then also the minister will not attend this meeting this morning. Colleagues, thank you very much for that. Apologies. May I now ask that we observe a moment of silent prayer or meditation. Thank you very much. Colleagues and guests here this morning, thank you for you joining us in this engagement on strengthening parliamentary leadership in water and sanitation and hygiene wash here in South Africa. Today's briefing is an opportunity for us to reflect on the state of wash in South Africa and to explore how Parliament can play a more strategic and coordinating role in addressing the challenges facing this water sector. Across our communities, water and sanitation remain a critical area of concern. These issues affect public health, human dignity, economic development, and social stability. As Parliament, our responsibility is to ensure strong oversight, effective leadership, and accountable budgeting, improving service delivery. Establishing a dedicated parliamentary wash caucus is one potential mechanism to strengthen this work. Today, we will hear from countries that have successfully established such caucuses in Zambia, Liberia, Uganda, and the United States. Their experience demonstrates how parliamentary structures dedicated to WASH can enhance sector governance, improving accountability, and accelerate progress toward national and global communities. We are also joined by civil society experts who will share insight on how a caucus can deepen collaboration between parliament, communities, and technical institutions. Their contributions are essential as successful water governance relies on strong partnership across the water sector. The purpose of today's session is not only to learn, but also to reflect collectively on whether South Africa should establish its own parliamentary WASH caucus. Such a caucus should support the committee's strategic objectives, strengthen member capacity, and create a dedicated platform for sustained focus on water and sanitation. I encourage all our members to engage actively, share reflection, and consider how a caucus would enhance our collective impact and address the country's water and sanitation challenges. So that is the reason why we are here today. We have guests here that's members of parliament in other countries and that is involved, also guests that's involved in the water
was 61%. And look at KwaZulu-Natal at 50%, 2002. Metros, you can see the average still is above the country average at 90%, which means access is higher in urban areas. So what does us? It means the attention should focus away from urban areas as it stands, because it means in rural areas access is constrained. So that is what it basically tells us. The bottom one, it talks about the percentage of access to sanitation facilities. You can see flush toilets across board. Flush toilets is at 66% across it. That is the national average. But the highest access is in the Western Cape, and the lowest access is in Limpopo, insofar as flush toilets are concerned. And you would see that where the flush toilets are less, then there is a high number of pit latrines. But here the concern is pit latrines or toilet without ventilation pipe. That is a serious concern, because that is against the WASH standards. So it means Limpopo province, there is a need for attention there. Household hygiene. This talks to what happens when you use the toilet. And in this case, we look at the proportion of houses that perhaps also relating to emptying of pit latrines and chemical toilets. So in this case, 88% in the Western Cape, their toilets have been emptied in 2024. So in other words, there is management insofar as treatment of excreta is concerned. But if you look in Limpopo, 1.2%, only 1.2% have got their pit latrines emptied. So this is a concern. It's unhygienic for the other households that have not emptied their toilets. So that is what it basically means. It means there is a problem there across board, with the exception of the Western Cape and slightly Free State and Gauteng province. And the national average is at 10%. So this is a concern. It's a serious concern. So we need to pay attention to that. And the bottom graph shows us that in 2020, there was an increase in terms of washing, hand washing after using a toilet. You can see from 2020, but here there is a reason, because remember 2020, there was COVID, so everybody was scared. So everyone wanted to survive. So they had to wash either with alcohol-based type of detergents, or just a normal soap and water. So you can see the percentages increasing there. But you can see there is a decline. The graph is coming down. We are regressing. So that is a serious problem that we need to pay attention to. And that brings us to the conclusion, Chairperson. In terms of progress, there is a significant progress that, but major inequality persists across provinces. You can see that there are other provinces which are doing very well, and there are other provinces which are not doing very well. And in this case, Western Cape and Gauteng boost highest access, while in Mpumalanga, Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal, they are underserved. These are rural provinces. And water supply is under strain. And there is a declining provincial access percentages. And the households face higher interruptions. Almost 50% of households So that is a serious problem that we need to deal with. And this resonates with everyone. If you look perhaps at yourself today, you ask yourself how many water interruptions you have suffered this year. For me, I can tell you I've suffered 2 already, and I suffered those 2 this week. So that is how water interruptions concerned, and it affects hygiene in particular. So in this case, it affects SDG 6.1. Water quality perceptions. Sorry about that. It's mostly positive, but there is low confidence in Northern Cape. Highlights need stronger monitoring and reporting. Sanitation improving, but rural reliance on non-VIPs. So this is a serious problem. We need to get rid of non-VIPs in rural areas, and very low rates of pit emptying in some of the households. So that poses health and environmental risks. So talks directly to issue of hygiene. Hygiene behavior is regressing post-COVID, and we need to perhaps rejig the education and access to facilities. The country is off track. From these results, we can see that we are off track in terms of SDG 6, which we need to be meeting universal access by 2030. So there is a need for accelerated investment, a stronger governance, and improved infrastructure resilience. So that is the bigger picture that comes out of these results. And in that case, water is life, sanitation is dignity, hygiene is health. So this statement now is complete, because some people used to end at dignity. So, but now today, hygiene is health. So thank you very much, Chairperson. That is the picture insofar as state of water is concerned in South Africa.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone would lead a presentation from our guests?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Can I perhaps be the first one to take a lead, because I'll be giving speech in a different meeting, if that is allowable?
100%. You may continue.
Okay, so thank you so much. And I must mention that South Africa is doing a great job. And I think it was quite refreshing to learn what South Africa is doing in this important sector. I will not go to highlight the importance of WASH and many other factors that have already been highlighted by my colleague. I think mine will just be to focus on the reason for this meeting, where maybe I'll just want to highlight what the Zambian Parliamentary WASH or Water Caucus is doing as part of cross-learning, just to allow our colleagues to understand what we are doing in Zambia. How did this caucus come about? What is its objective? So that perhaps there can be a lot of learning points. But I must first of all commend South Africa for the presentation that you have done, honorable colleague. It is quite detailed, and I think what is more interesting is the level of analysis in terms of what you are doing in water, in WASH, the quality of water, the access disparities between the rural and the urban. And I think in Zambia, we can
We can't hear you. May I ask that you maybe just put off your video so that your bandwidth is stronger?
Okay. Let me do this. Okay. Am I audible now?
100%. Thank you.
Okay, so basically, I was just appreciating the depth of the analysis. It's very good because it now relates to the reality on the ground in terms of what our people aspire to access: quality, rural, urban disparities, the provinces disparity. And I think these are some of the issues that even in Zambia, we are focused in addressing as members of parliament. So just to give a brief, I would want to share the Zambian perspective on the establishment and operations of the WASH Caucus. So just like my other colleague did mention, we are a caucus, we're a club We are not a portfolio committee. We are a club established within Parliament upon realizing that we needed to bring advocates, we needed to bring ensuring that the advocate side of WASH, apart from the Parliamentary Committee, we established this club that was going to be the voice, that was going to be the link between members of Parliament and the civil society, that was going to act as a watchdog to the executive in ensuring that the commitments around the water, they are met. So this caucus, it is called the Zambian Parliamentary Caucus on WASH. It was established by the standing orders, standing order number 256, which recognizes the establishment of this caucus. So this caucus is a full establishment in the Zambian Parliament, and it came in I've seen somebody's, yes. So yes, you can go to the next one. Yes. So the speaker, upon a written request of at least 15 members, they recognized the existence of a parliamentary caucus. So we, the members of parliament who are champions of WASH, we realized the challenges that have been established by the previous speaker. The Southern African perspective of WASH is the same. The desire to meet the SDGs that focuses on water is the same. And we realized that the executive alone, it was not going to be enough. So we wrote to the speaker, 15 members of parliament. We realized that we needed to come up with this group, this action group, this advocates group, so that we begin championing this agenda. So upon writing to the speaker recognized the existence and the formation of this caucus. However, with support from various stakeholders, such as the WASH Forum, where my other colleague, the lady from Zambia, is coming from, they were very instrumental in ensuring that our parliament establishes this caucus in the Zambian Parliament. So basically, it is an establishment of parliament, it is recognized in parliament, and it is established under the standing order number 256. Are we able to move to the next slide? Yeah, so why the PC WASH caucus matters? Why did we think we needed to establish this caucus? So we needed to enhance the capacity of members on understanding the WASH landscape in Zambia. Just the presentation that you shared, the previous speaker, that is the level of detail that each member of parliament who is speaking for his people, who wants to influence the government, should have. We realize that a lot of members of parliament, they did not have an in-depth understanding, especially that people come from different backgrounds. They needed to have an understanding of the WASH perspective in Zambia, understand the global policy framework on WASH, understand the regional framework on WASH, so that as members of parliament, when they're advocating on the floor of the house, they will have that detailed understanding. So one of the reasons why we decided to come up with this WASH was to ensure that we enhance the capacity of members. And I must also mention that this WASH caucus is a non-partisan. It is established by members of parliament from all the political parties. I come from the ruling government. My vice comes from a different political party. The secretary comes from a different political. So it's a mix, because we realize that WASH issues are non-political. These are the issues that affect all of us, especially us from the rural communities where there's literally no water, and it is driven on the agenda of being non-political. The other reason is to support the legislative and oversight authority of parliament. You are aware that through parliament, members of parliament have got the responsibility to provide the legislative and oversight function. A lot of policies, a lot of laws on WASH, on sanitation, on hygiene, they are quite a cake. And there are a lot of emerging issues around climate change, around the water conservation, the global threats, public health threats. And we believe that the current laws that we have, they need to be to continuously be checking on them and ensure that the pieces of legislation that we have, they continuously align with the needs that we have in the WASH. And this is one of the major responsibilities that our caucus does, providing legislative oversight and ensuring that we provide general oversight on how government is fulfilling its promises and how government is implementing WASH the responsibility. So, and also this caucus acts as a point for engagement with stakeholders. Various NGOs, they come through the caucus to engage the executive. Various NGOs, they influence the piece of registration through the caucus. when there's a piece of legislation to be advanced, like right now we're conversating around wanting to look at tariffs which will be reflective, and the civil society has engaged the caucus so that we start brainstorming, we start thinking. By the time this issue comes on the floor of the House, a lot of members, they'll have the logic, they'll have a broad understanding on why we need to change this law. Then also it acts as an informal and a voluntary it acts as an informal and involuntary entity that breaks a lot of rigidities that are within Parliament. You understand that portfolio committees, sometimes they are defined in terms of their scope. But for the caucus, it's a bit flexible. It can meet the minister at 10 times. It can make a statement at 10 times without seeking approval from Parliament. So it is more informal. It acts as a club, but the effectiveness, the fact that Parliament has even dedicated a full-time staff who provides oversight to the 30 members of Parliament who are the champions. There is a dedicated officer who does research for us. There's a dedicated officer who engages the stakeholders. So it legitimizes the existence of this body. So it's flexible, but it is able to operate and engage government. So in terms of the structure of this caucus, it is regulated by constitution. So we have a full-time established constitution that governs the existence of this caucus. It has an executive committee where I chair, and it is supported by an in-house technical team within Parliament. And it is also supported by external stakeholders like the WASH Forum. The ladies here also should be able to speak how we work with them, and they provide technical support, financial support. Both were not funded by Parliament. Parliament provides the necessary support. They could fund one-off, but we're not funded. So, and we depend on various stakeholders who are the key stakeholders in ensuring that we run our agenda. We've got a strategic plan, we've got a constitution, and it's very clear what our objectives are, what we want to achieve over a period of time. So what we do as a caucus, some of the opportunities within Parliament, through the caucus, working with various stakeholders, the CSOs, various youth-led movements on water, members of Parliament, they are able to sponsor motions on the floor of the House. And these motions, they are urged to, they could urge the government to develop a particular strategy or a particular legislation. And these motions are sponsored tactfully through the caucus, because the caucus it acts as a voice for the people that could not have access to Parliament. Also through the caucus, we are able to advance ministerial statements. We are also able to ask questions to ministers. The civil society are able to slot in questions. They are able to slot in information that we use to ask ministers to hold them accountable on the floor of the House. Yes, some of the entry points for the PS WASH and the civil society engagement. So the civil society have been very critical in supporting this caucus, because as members of Parliament, you know that we may not have enough time to do research, but we depend on the civil society to give us evidence-based policy briefs to Parliament. Just last week, the WASH Forum and their partners, WaterAid, they were presenting a cholera briefing on the status of cholera in Zambia. And that has been presented to the members of Parliament. And we hope the issues that came from that policy brief is what we're going to use to advocate to advance in Parliament. So working with the civil society, they give us evidence-based policy briefs. Then also working with the civil society and other partners, we create an opportunity for civil society to come to Parliament and sit at the point when we are doing sector budgeting, because we do sector budgeting, where each committee, each portfolio committee, it invites stakeholders to come and make comments on the budget. So the WASH Forum, WASH stakeholders, they always come. Every time we're reviewing the budget, they're given an opportunity to come and make their comments and make necessary adjustments on how the budget should be. And also using this engagement between the members of Parliament and the civil society, we are able to make committee recommendations that are related to WASH in the annual reports. So every time that the annual reports are being drafted by the executive, we check some of the recommendations that were made through this engagement and we slot them in the annual report, which is presented to government. So basically, this acts as a network between the civil society, who may not have a space to sit in Parliament, and the members of Parliament. So it's an informal space that makes sure that the voices of the public, they also have entry in the parliamentary space. They also have got entry in the budgetary space. They also have entry in the legislative space. So this caucus is one of the most active caucuses in Zambian Parliament. Two ministers, the Minister of Water and the Minister of Green Economy, they are also members of this caucus. So basically, colleagues, this is what the Zambian Parliamentary Caucus is doing, and it's exciting that other governments are doing the same, other parliaments are doing the same, and we are open to learning what is happening elsewhere. We are open to share some of the success stories that we have gained, that we have gotten as a result of the establishment of this caucus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other presentation from any other member?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
You can continue.
Yes, this is Honorable Silas from Uganda.
You can continue, sir.
Yeah. So, like earlier introduced, I am the chairperson of Uganda Parliamentary Forum on WASH, and I just wanted to say something about our forum, and so that we may be able to learn from each other, share together as colleagues. And honorable members, I'm honored to address you on this subject that touches each one of us, regardless of status. As we all know, that WASH stands for Water, Sanitation and Hygiene. And as far as we all know, it is a right. It is a right. Because actually, when we talk about water, people say water is
We can't hear you. So we can't hear you at all.
Recording in progress.
I think my network was breaking a little. I hope you can be able to get me.
We hear you now.
Okay. Sorry about that. So we are duty bound to play a crucial role in ensuring that everyone enjoys the right to basic water, sanitation, and hygiene, and that no one gets left behind. Indeed, under Sustainable Development Goals framework, we are all concerned about making sure that everyone has that access to safe and clean water. WASH features prominently under SDG 6, which aims to ensure availability and sustainability, sustainable management of water and sanitation for all by 2030. Furthermore, WASH ties together all the other 16 goals, playing a key role in attainment of each one of them. It's therefore something that we as legislators must take seriously. Today, I wanted to focus on the Parliamentary Water Caucus and in our perspective as Uganda. Like I told you earlier, ours was commenced in 2012 and started by a few members. And we started it more informally than a formal caucus. And later, we were able to formalize it. But this was after a research being carried out by Water Aid Uganda. And they determined that it was very important that we establish a water caucus or a parliamentary forum on WASH in the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, because this was going to be the platform that helps to connect Parliament to civil society, other key stakeholders, the government, and everybody, including the private sector. A parliamentary water caucus is a voluntary, non-partisan platform of members of parliament, like my colleague of parliament from Zambia did allude to. And you can be able to see that in Uganda we have several parties. But when we come and caucus together on the matter of WASH, you find that the issue of colors are put behind us. The ruling party members are there. We have the independent members of parliament. We have those in opposition. When we speak water, we don't speak colors. We speak WASH, we don't speak colors. So we are all speaking for the people and accelerating progress. So the Uganda Parliamentary Forum on WASH was established in 2012 as a platform to bring together members of parliament, civil society, organizations, private sector actors, development actors, and technical experts committed to improving WASH outcomes in Uganda. We are essentially a subset of parliament, but with a broader bridge to society. What does the forum do? The work of the forum is anchored around 4 cardinal roles of members of parliament. And this is in accordance to our constitution. And the roles include legislation, representation, oversight, and budget. Under legislation, MPs under the forum influence laws, policies, and regulatory frameworks to align with with commitments under SDG 6. Align to the Constitution, the national development plans, and the members review bills, propose amendments, and advocate for legal reforms that strengthen sanitation standards, water governance, climate resilience, and institutional accountability. One such a law that the UPF WASH influence was in relation to highway sanitation, where we try to make sure that at least after a certain distance, let there be a good wash facility that can be accessed at a free cost. Nobody should be paying money for that to access such services. Under representation, MPs are the voice of the people. We represent the many voices who would otherwise not be heard. The women, the children, the persons with disability, ensuring that their right to safe water, adequate sanitation, and proper hygiene feature in the national discourse and priorities. The other issue that the category that we do not want to forget is the girl child. We are talking now about education. You know, it is very, very important that we always endeavor to take care of the girl child in terms of menstrual hygiene. So we have worked closely with the Ministry of Education in making sure that they design facilities and infrastructure that enables the girl child to manage menstrual hygiene. And this has a direct relationship to their stay in school. Because if you don't take care of that, the school dropout rate is likely to climb up. On the issue of oversight, we are the eyes out there, ensuring that government commitments are upheld. We conduct field visits, engage ministries, question performance gaps, and ensure that the public funds translate into real services. Oversight ensures that water systems function, schools have adequate sanitation, and health facilities meet hygiene standards. On the issue of budget appropriation, through scrutiny of the budget framework papers, ministerial policy statements, and appropriations, the Caucus advocates for increased domestic resource mobilization for WASH. And the other issue is protection of WASH allocations from budget cuts and improved efficiency also and absorption. So basically what I was talking about is that we have seen situations where an allocation is made towards WASH, but a long way at the time of implementing the budget, the executive comes back and says, now we are realizing inadequacies in terms of funds for other activities and would love to cut down on this money which was initially approved towards this. So we as a voice try as much as possible to protect and make sure that that money is not touched. And we find that very, very useful in making sure that we increase the allocations, but also maintain and protect the gains that we have already tried to achieve. So, however, you'll allow me also to say that, as already highlighted, the Caucus has a broader wings to the wider society, performing other roles, for instance, convening national dialogues on WASH. Now, for us, for the case of Uganda, we normally have the UPF WASH Symposium annually. By now, we have had, I think, the 12th. Also, we have moved so far. Every year, we convene a symposium on WASH, and we bring critical actors to participate in this symposium. We arrive at recommendations, which recommendations find their way to Parliament, either through legislation, appropriation, raising the voices, asking questions like my colleague from Zambia did raise, asking during the Prime Minister's question time, asking the ministers and getting feedback, but also communicating to the people, because that is good for the people to have the trust in the representative that they send to Parliament. We engage media and communities on WASH. The media is very critical in making sure that they spread the message and ask that WASH is everyone's business. In order to bring everybody on board, the media becomes very critical. We try as much as possible to engage in evidence-based advocacy. And civil society has come in so handy in making sure that they help us with the research. They give us a lot of information. And this helps us because when we stand on the floor of Parliament to speak about WASH with evidence, we are able to influence and move the House towards accepting what we are advocating for and supporting the cause. We have made sure that we try as much as possible to strengthen partnerships across the board with civil society, private sector, government, and even foreign entities. We want also to appreciate, allow me to take this moment to appreciate one of our partners, Mr. John Oldfield, whom I believe is online. I hope he's listening.
Loud and clear, Honorable. Thank you.
Yes, right from Washington. He has been one of those key advisors. So, and he has partnered with us and moved the journey all along. And I feel so indebted to him. And we want as a caucus to appreciate you for the support that you have always rendered to us. We work out with the leadership of the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, more so the Speaker of Parliament, who is our patron, but also the Clerk to Parliament, who is the accounting officer of Parliament. So their effort is highly recognized.
Yeah, I think you're not audible at the moment again, so I wonder whether we should not maybe just stop then there and then continue with someone else.
Okay, maybe you can get me now. There was an interference.
Okay,
So,
can you maybe conclude?
Let me now conclude. We have made some achievements in terms of advocacy for WASH funding, policy development, improved sanitation in schools, raising awareness, sector collaborations, but also made sure that our executive continuously sits to give direction for the caucus. And as I conclude, our structure is in such a way that we have the chairperson of the forum, the vice chairperson, the secretary, treasurer, and then we have regional representatives representing the rest of the regions. And we want to thank you so much. We have strategies for strengthening the caucus, but I know we will find time to share about that because I need to save time to allow other people also to contribute, as this is a shared responsibility. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairperson and moderator. It has been good listening to you. Let me continue listening to you from this side as we participate together for the good of our world. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Oldfield, would you like to come in here?
Well, Chair, if I could offer Honorable Joshua from Liberia the floor, would that be appropriate?
No, it's fine. It's fine if he wants to go first. It's fine.
All right, Honorable Joshua.
Yes. Good morning again. My name is Thomas A. Goswell II. I'm a member of the Liberian legislature, as I earlier on stated. And I'm the chairperson of the WASH Legislative Caucus in Liberia that comprises both representatives and senators. Our caucus was formed in 2016 to promote WASH policy agenda and ensure adequate budget support for the WASH sector in Liberia. We also provide oversight for the improvement of WASH governance in our country. Liberia, as most of you may be aware, our sector is heavily or excessively dependent on external aid at 96%, with minimum national contribution at approximately 4.3%. And as I speak, as of today, 25% of our country's population do not have access to safe water, and about that, 18% have access to improved sanitation services, and hygiene is way down below at 1%. Over 45% of Liberia's population is still practicing open defecation throughout the 15 counties that make up the territorial boundaries of Liberia. Now, with these challenges that we are faced with, our caucus attention has been drawn to the withdrawal of major donors supporting WASH and other sectors in Liberia. In the wake of this, the government of Liberia has been called upon to double up efforts and prioritize WASH financing to ensure proper ownership and sustainability of all WASH initiatives in Liberia. So we have informed our colleagues of happenings within the WASH sector, and so together, all 36 members of the caucus pool resources to see how we can draw national government attention to the issue that we are facing in Liberia concerning WASH. And so during this budget preparation, we were able to call in all of our stakeholders and mostly the civil society organizations to see how we can present a case to other members of parliament and to the executive branch that with this 2026 budget, there could be a significant change within the WASH sector, because we believe that if this sector is paid attention to, we will be saving a lot of money in places like healthcare delivery and poor sanitary outstations. And so for this year, during our budget presentation, we were able to allocate, let me get the actual figure. So we were able to allocate at the National Commission on WASH, their budget was increased from $600,000 to $1 million. And we have the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, that is a service provider entity that's been sponsored by the Liberian government. And so their budget also increased to $9.4 million. And then we have a joint program, the government of Liberia and that of the UNDP, that is the Accelerated Community Development Program. It is a matching program to go into rural Liberia and provide sanitary provision to WASH. And so we were able to include in the budget and allotted $500,000 to the Accelerated Community Development Program. And then $700,000 was also placed in the budget under the Liberian legislature to be focused on WASH initiatives throughout the 73 districts. And we were also able to formalize the WASH Legislative Caucus is not a committee that reports to plenary. And so
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. Mr. Oldfield?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I wanted to give Honorable Joshua from Liberia the opportunity before me. I'm not a member of the U.S. Congress or the Senate. I am in civil society here. I will save most of my remarks for later on in this session, but just very quickly, if I can informally represent the interests of the Congressional Global Water Security Caucus in Washington, D.C. here. This caucus is, we have two chambers in our parliament, the House of Representatives as the lower chamber, the Senate as the upper chamber. The Congressional Global Water Security Caucus is currently only in the lower chamber, in the House of Representatives. It's approximately 6 years old, and it's informal but formal. It is not, of course, a committee. It is not a commission. It is a caucus. It's a club, like Honorable Twambo from Zambia said, or an advocacy network, like Honorable Silas from Uganda said. Now, the distinction here between the caucuses in Uganda, Liberia, and Zambia, and our caucus here in the United States is that our Congressional Global Water Security Caucus is not focused on water and sanitation from a domestic, a U.S. perspective. Our Global Water Security Caucus is focused on exactly that, on global water and sanitation security. So if the caucuses in Liberia, Uganda, Zambia, perhaps South Africa are focused on domestic challenges, if you all are focused on working with infrastructure committees and public works committees, well, our caucus is focused on working with, in particular, the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the relevant subcommittees of the House Appropriations Committee. The number one goal of our caucus is to support the passage of legislation that prioritizes safe drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene. The second goal of our Global Water Security Caucus is to focus on increasing appropriations for that particular issue. So we, as the other members have said, diverse membership is important. And we in our caucus, it's a relatively small caucus, about 14 members at this point, with co-chairs from our two major political parties, from the Democrats and from the Republicans. I feel like this issue, as all have said, is essentially a nonpartisan, a post-partisan issue. And I do remember a story from a Liberian legislator, Vincent Willey, the former chair of the Legislative WASH Caucus in Liberia. I wrote a speech for him at one point called "Water is Politics." And when he started giving the speech, he immediately corrected me. And he says, "John, the title is wrong. And the title should be Water is Good Politics." And I think he's right. It's a post-partisan issue. It brings parties together. It brings men and women together. It brings rural and urban constituencies together. And the diverse membership of our caucus in the United States is one manifestation of that. The second point I want to make beyond diverse membership is that our caucus enjoys strong support from civil society organizations and networks in the United States. And I'm one example of a civil society person who supports the work of our Parliamentary WASH caucus. The membership and the leadership committee of our caucus also enjoys a tight relationship with the technical ministries, right now the U.S. Department of State in particular, and the leadership committee of our caucus enjoys strong support from congressional staff, as is the case in Liberia, Uganda, Zambia, and hopefully South Africa. Now, it's a tricky time for foreign assistance in the United States, so the work of the Global Water Security Caucus has never been more important, but it's changing also. When the U.S. Agency for International Development was active, the primary partner of our Global Water Security Caucus was, in fact, USAID. Now, the primary technical partner of our water caucus is the U.S. Department of State. And our caucus has had some success on that front. When USAID was closed down and U.S. foreign assistance was significantly decreased, through the efforts of our Global Water Security Caucus, we were able to stop the bleeding for water and sanitation. The water and sanitation budget was cut, but it was not cut as much as other budgets were cut, and some budgets for foreign assistance activities were completely zeroed out. So I think our caucus, even though it's facing some very strong headwinds, does have some recent successes. Next steps, and I'll conclude here, are to continue to advocate within our House of Representatives for increased funding. The next step is to continue to provide oversight, congressional oversight of the executive branch, State Department, the National Security Council, a number of other federal agencies here in the United States. A next step is that the caucus intends to organize a series of briefings on water and sanitation security. And then finally, I think the United States needs to follow the lead of Liberia, of Uganda, of Zambia, and maybe South Africa. I think we need to start a domestic water security caucus in the United States at a national level. We do, and I'll get back to this later on in my remarks, we do have water caucuses at a state level, at a provincial level. In South African terms, we do have a strong water caucus in Texas, and in several states, I believe caucuses exist where water security is an ongoing challenge. So I'll stop there. Chair, I'm grateful for the opportunity to join you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, can I ask on the agenda point 7, if we can skip that and then get the role of civil society in, and then we would go to the question. Would that be in order? Don't see.
I think it's in order.
Supported,
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you. The role of civil society, Mandy, would you start, please?
Okay, not a problem. Just cue my presentation. Cannot seem to share.
Can we give her sharing rights, please?
I can share for you, Mandy, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't have control of the app, but anyway, I can share the presentation. I've got it open here.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Tumani.
Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. Morning again, colleagues. I'm glad that the honourable ministers have already given a brief background of what the WASH caucuses are and how they're formed and all the different parties involved. And John then was able to speak on the different types of caucuses in the different countries and in the US. So my job will be a bit easier. I'll just drill more on the CSO part. So please go to the next slide. Yes, that's one. So maybe if there's some confusion on why you would need a WASH caucus if you already have this portfolio committee, I just wanted to show the difference in what their functions would be. In terms of the legal status, the portfolio committee, as already mentioned, is a more formal parliamentary body. And although it has been said that the WASH caucus is like a forum or a club or it's a bit informal, there needs to be some sort of formalization in the structure. For example, if the speaker approves of the formation of the WASH caucus and also backed up by the terms of reference that the members would sign. In terms of the party composition, there's proportional representation within the committee, and in the caucus, this would be voluntary. And we'd want representation from the different political parties. The portfolio committee, obviously their focus on this one is water and sanitation. And in the caucus, this would be cross-sector and integrated with WASH. So basic education, would come into it, as well as infrastructure and anything that touches on water and sanitation, and so on and so forth. So could you please go to the next slide? So what is actually a civil society organization? It is a broad term which includes non-governmental organizations, but it also encompasses other types of organizations, whether they are formal or informal. In terms of NGOs, they would be formally recognized and within the country as a non-profit company, or they can just be community group or advocacy groups. But as a whole, they represent a wide range of interests and are involved in promoting the common good and influence public policy. Next slide, please. So the core principle of CSO involvement in the caucus is merely to support. They do not control and should not control what happens in the caucus. The MPs retain leadership and decision-making authority, so that's very important. And they are non-partisan. So they come in with the evidence-based engagement or research without trying to push their agendas or what they would feel or whatever their political affiliations would be. So because they are grounded in community realities, they'd be able to be on the ground and be that bridge between MPs and the caucus and the community. So a parliamentary WASH caucus is owned and led by the MPs, and the CSOs would not be able to vote or make any political decisions within that caucus. They'd just be knowledge brokers, they'd be conveners, implementing reality checks, and the guardians of public interest. So in terms of the key roles, there's 5 that I'll just go through quickly. So the first key role of CSOs would be secretariat and coordination support, as they would be able to provide institutional memories as MPs change over time. They would be the most common and most stable part of the caucus, and they'd be able to organize meetings, prepare the agenda, and coordinate the different speakers that are needed to push whatever agenda is needed at the time, an advocacy message. Next slide, please. The second role is for evidence and knowledge support, as we said. Tomani touched on the SDGs, which have their deadline in 2030. And the way things are looking from the Stats SA data, we might not reach that goal. But that's then where the caucus comes in, trying to advocate for what more can we do to accelerate that change. And we can also look into Agenda 2063 for Africa, which is what I'm hearing we might be leaning more into. Please go on. The third role, as already said by our MPs, is convening voices and advocating. So CSOs act as a bridge between Parliament and communities, and ensuring the voices of women, girls, informal settlements, people with disabilities are heard. So without the CSOs, many of these perspectives would never reach MPs directly. Next, please. The fourth one is oversight and accountability. So the CSOs would help strengthen Parliament oversight by tracking their commitments, their budget, monitoring the implementation on the ground. And this would allow the MPs themselves to raise informed motions, request briefings from departments, and also to push for the corrective action rather than reactive crisis management, which we have seen after the fact that a disaster has happened. Next slide, please. And the fifth and final role would be capacity building, particularly for the MPs. WASH is technically complex. It is a very technical thing. And so often they would be able, CSOs would be able to run short orientation or learning sessions for the MPs, and also explain emerging issues such as fecal-slash management, which, as we saw in Tomani's data with pits not being emptied, there's a growing concern of how much sludge we need to treat. And also about non-sewage sanitation to be able to reach those communities which aren't able to be reached by municipal sewers. And so also just to clarify the institutional responsibilities across the spheres of government, just to clarify that for the caucus on what each sphere of government would need to do. Next slide, please. So for this to be successful, CSIs must not control the caucus's decisions. I think this has been made clear of that their role is to be non-partisan and to just support. A well-run caucus has clear boundaries. And as I mentioned, there'd be a terms of reference that is signed by all the members. And that's what would be the guiding principle of how you execute the activities. Next slide, please. So why do CSOs' involvement should matter in South Africa? Delivery is municipal in South Africa, but failure has national consequences, as we've seen. Many municipalities lack technical and financial capacity. And then sanitation is often underrepresented or under-prioritized. And ring fencing is not done. So civil society often pilots innovations before government adopts them. For this, I can attest to the organization I'm involved in. We do some of the groundwork with the municipalities of running some innovations. So the CSO would help the South African MPs by grounding the national debates in implementation reality and shifting the focus from just strictly infrastructure spending to service sustainability. How can you get return on investment to these municipalities that are not performing well so that they can be able to reinvest their revenue back into service delivery? And also just to keep the sanitation visible between the crisis. So there shouldn't be a crisis for sanitation to be visible in the headlines, as we've seen with the cholera outbreak. It should always be seen as a positive and an ongoing service delivery intervention. Next slide, please. So a strong CSO caucus relationship would include, like I said, a written terms of reference with defined roles and limits, transparent funding arrangements, open engagement with multiple CSOs, not just one, and regular reporting to the caucus MPs. And as one of the honorable ministers, I forgot which one it was, sorry, they did say that there is no money involved, especially for the CSO. So hopefully with the transparent funding arrangement, that would be allocated some funding for the caucus on doing the activities. Last slide, please. Thank you. So just some key takeaways of my presentation. CSOs enable parliamentary WASH caucuses by providing coordination, evidence-based research, while the MPs can lead politically and focus on that. As I said, CSOs normally get grant, donor, or social development funding that already has activities aligned to it. So there should be some form of compensation or money put aside for the CSOs and for the running of the caucus to cover their time and effort. And with 2030 looming around the corner, I just put in a few points there of what success would look like in the next 2 to 3 years. And I think the slides would be shared, so I won't just go through that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I then ask the representative of Zambia, Kubala Mumba, to do their presentation?
Thank you, Chair. Tumani, would you be able to show the video first? I'd like to start with the video first.
Tumani, would you share the video?
Okay.
Yes, Chairperson, I'm getting to it.
Okay.
Just confirm if it's visible from your end.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can see.
we can see it.
Maybe just sound. I'm not sure whether there is sound on this.
Yeah, let me increase my maximum.
Oh, wow.
Tumani, we don't have any sound.
You don't have sound from your side?
Well, I don't have sound. I'm not sure whether other members got sound.
No, we don't have
No,
sound.
there's no sound.
No
There's no
sound at all, Tumani.
Let me see what the issue.
Must I try sharing it on my end, Tumani?
Yeah, please, man. Thank you.
There's still no sound.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh, there's still no sound.
No,
No
still
sound.
strange.
Okay, can you maybe speak through this, if possible?
I think it's gonna come up right now.
Need for me to come down to the
Fine now.
community and try not to implement what we learned in that training, considering the various challenges, that our communities are
Is the sound coming out now?
Yes, it's working.
There is sound now.
Yes, it's working.
Okay.
going through with the effects of climate change. We had various challenges. With climate variability, our community actually faced a lot of challenges.
Choyamba kulingana na kusintha kwa nyengo, kale mvula inali kulokwa bwino koma sopano mvula siro kwa bwino ilo kwa chimodzi koma kale inali kulokwa pang'ono koma lomba ilo kwa yambiri pa awa imodzi, so manzi amathawa msana.
Poyamba peze mavuto ava munthu kuti apite ezekangiwa kaili manzi anga mkokolole ng'ombe manzi vezepita vezenkhazikika lini ng'ombe zezosowa pakumwa.
It had a negative impact on our youths and our, let me say, children and our women, especially children, who had to walk long distances to go and find water for animals, and that impacted very negatively on their educational programs and other economic activities. We're talking here maybe in terms of 10 kilometers to walk to the nearest water point.
Dera lathu ichi chitukuko chachitika cha damu ichi kuno kwa Mazimavi yachilandirana manja aviri eni niwokondwera maningi minzi yonse kuno.
Water now has become easily accessible. It has brought about a lot of activities.
So ichi chitukuko mwanta chitira chapangisa kuti tisunge mazi ndiponso chioneka kuti chizatithandiza futi kusogolo kuku vana vatu kusogolo.
You find that they spend less water walking those long distances. You find that the youths now have got more time to concentrate on their school and other things.
Monga munilineyo mzimai manzi yala yali palapadamu. Ni manzi yabwino ngako efanika chitetezo chikulene chifukwa chakuti manzi ni chintu chofunika kumuntu aliyense. Manzi yala yofanika kuti tiko washirapo ng'ombe ziko kumwa ndipo azimayi tiphunzire kulima madimba kuti kuno kwasu umphawi uchoke.
Tanzi libwino kwambiri lomba chifukwa zeleka kwenda msenga utali.
Koma lomba munthu opita bwinobwino.
It is very important for policymakers to receive climate adaptation programs because the policymakers are the ones that initiate these projects in their communities. They're the ones who deal with the funding. They're the ones who are a bridge between the community and the central government or the funders. So these need to be equipped with the knowledge of climate adaptation.
Ichi chitukuko senso chilandirana manja aviri ndiponso chitukuko chamenechi tilinaganizo kuti chikhale chichoka
ndipo munuonera mkwazimaya yasu ava kuti apeze chithandizo ni chimodzimodzi program yameneyi yavatiletera yotileta madamu kuno kwasu ndiye kuti azimayi tinkhale vanthu othandizika monga kukumanzi kukuwasha kanthu kalikonse kolira manzi monga muno mwasu mukasenengwa mwandinise wokondwa kuti iyi programu isasilire pamene apa koma tithandize mpaka mose mwamene muli mufunikira kuti atiyikire madamu atiyikiremo.
Results are there to show. We invest in local solutions, we get great results. We want the global leaders to know that we are not only going to champion water bodies in terms of huge dams which cost a lot of money. If we go that route, definitely find that a lot of people are disadvantaged. But if we venture into such initiatives, using our homegrown solutions, we are going to come up with so many achievable initiatives. Once you involve a community in such activities, then also even their involvement in terms of managing that resource and also to get it protected, from other negative effects is much achievable.
All right, thank you, Chair. So that presentation, that little video is an unintended outcome of the WASH Caucus trainings that we've been having in Zambia. So I thought I should at least let the meeting breathe a little from the presentations. I thought we'd have a little break there. So I will now quickly share my presentation. Right, are you able to see my screen?
We can, if you can just put it into slide mode.
Just a minute, Chair. Thank you. All right. All right, so this presentation highlights how the NGO WASH Forum pioneered parliamentary engagement in establishing the Parliamentary WASH Caucus in Zambia. So the NGO WASH Forum, as I stated earlier, is a coalition of 50+ NGOs that are working to advance equitable access to water, sanitation, and hygiene. We exist to strengthen the capacity of our members, strengthen our members' voices, drive positive change through collaboration, capacity building, knowledge sharing, targeted advocacy, while fostering strategic partnerships with key stakeholders. We were established in 2007 as an informal coordination platform and formally registered in 2011, and we have progressively increased our membership and influence and have assumed a much stronger role in national policy and development processes in Zambia. I guess it's a bit slow. Oh no, here we go. Okay. So our membership comprises international NGOs, national and local NGOs, associate members with an interest in the water sector, and community-based organizations. And that's just a sample of the representatives of the organizations that compose the NGO WASH Forum. So in terms of the challenge that we had a low prioritization, political prioritization of water and sanitation. It has been a historical challenge, but in the last 5 years or so, from the highest political office, we saw a lot of pronouncements around water and sanitation, and we decided to leverage that political will. Also, there was quite a bit of fragmented advocacy efforts across the sector, and the need for a more sustained political commitment to water and sanitation. And also, we noted that there was a gap between civil society and the expertise around legislative action in the sector. So our vision was to create a dedicated platform within the National Assembly where water and sanitation issues receive sustained attention, political commitment, and legislative support through collaboration between civil society and elected representatives. So in terms of the strategic value, this cannot be overemphasized. I think from our perspective, we had periodic crises. Zambia is a hotspot for cholera. And so we would find that, WASH would only receive advocacy moments around the budget when there was cholera. And so we thought rather have an elevated prioritization that rather moved it from the periphery to rather become a center in parliamentary discourse. And we also realized that we needed a neutral ground for the dialogue between the different political parties, WASH cuts across political affiliation. And of course, we needed a way to connect lawmakers directly to high quality evidence, high quality research that could guide policy. And so in terms of the role that we played in being a vehicle that powered the establishment of the Zambian Caucus, we spent a lot of time building trust with key members of parliament and parliamentary leadership, proposing a formal structure. We then facilitated the development of a memorandum of understanding and secured approval from the office of the clerk. And later, as with time, we started training programs for MPs to help them understand the complex challenges. I think sometimes we make the assumption that because you're, sitting in that office, you have a lot of knowledge around what's going on the ground, which is often not the case. And so we felt that it's very important to take the opportunity to train members of parliament to understand the complexities that are within the sector. And so we provided ground truth data from communities to help MPs advocate for realistic solutions. So in terms of what a caucus can achieve, I think from our experience, this formalized partnership we see it because our caucus is relatively new in terms of age. We only set it up formally last year. And so we're still kind of, learning, I beg your pardon, in 2024. So for us, we see as a case around budget advocacy, a strong case around strengthening increased and more effective budget allocations for WASH infrastructure and services. There's also a great opportunity for policy reform. We have quite a few pieces of outdated legislature. And so building the capacity of our MPs and engaging with them at the point at which this legislature will go up for debate in Parliament ensures that at least some of the key issues around whether it's GESI, whether it's around climate or the law being able to respond to the emerging issues, our MPs will be at least able to debate with sound information. And then also we see the caucus as a vehicle that can impact constituency engagement at their individual level by empowering members of parliament to better address water and sanitation challenges directly within their local constituencies. And so the immediate impact, over 102 members of parliament expressed interest to join. It's the first of its kind in the Zambian parliament that relates to water and sanitation, and it has definitely enhanced water advocacy within the sector. And for us as civil society, I believe that our engagements with the National Assembly has strengthened our partnership with the national government and particularly our mother ministry, the Ministry of Water. In terms of our expected long-term outcomes, we see this as a vehicle for sustained political commitment to WASH, a vehicle also for streamlining policy implementation, allocation, and of course, enhanced accountability for WASH service delivery. Some of our lessons learned that it's often important to build relationships before formal structures. At the end of the day, we're all just people, and I think it's important to engage sometimes from a human level, and also to provide value from technical expertise and data. And you also have to be really patient and persistent in the engagement. This is also advice from my CSO colleagues in South Africa, and to create win-win partnerships that create clear mutual benefits. In the picture there is members of parliament that visited a water utility in Lusaka that supplies much of Lusaka's water. So in terms of how we can support yourselves in your aspiration to set up a caucus, should you decide to pursue that, I think that there's a lot of lessons to be learned, from our successes, and you could also learn from some of our pitfalls. There's a more structured blueprint, so you don't really have to reinvent the wheel. We could assist you in drafting an MOU or terms of reference on how to formalize your relationship between the National Assembly and the CSOs in that space. We also believe that it can strengthen your sector coordination and provide a more unified forum to provide, I know that one of the things that is a pain point for parliamentarians is to have so many voices of different civil society organizations. And I guess sometimes being able to have a unified platform can be your kind of one-stop marketplace for information. Also, there's opportunities, I think, for peer-to-peer learning. You have the giants, Uganda, who we learn quite a bit from ourselves, and Liberia, who is also ahead of us. And I think that there's opportunity for exchange in dialogues, facilitated study tours should resources allow between our parliaments across the continent. Long term, I think, given our water security challenges, particularly for SADC, I think that establishing these caucuses can create a great network for regional stability. And it can also help us align our domestic legislation to align with SADC protocols and help us manage our water resources and shared river basins more sustainably. It can provide lawmakers and CSOs a chance to collaborate on issues around transboundary data and help the region prepare better for droughts and floods, and also provide a unified voice for the global stage to advocate for more effective platforms like climate financing, which is an emerging source of income, and infrastructure development at international forums like the COP, UN Water, just to give an example. And I'll end my presentation there. Thank you, Chair. Hand over back to you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, may I just ask, is there any other presentation? Or can we go to questioning? Seems there's not
Yeah,
further.
there are no more presentations, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. Colleagues, now it's time for us to ask some clarity questions. We all know that for Parliament to take a decision on this, or us to take a decision on this, there is a process where we need to discuss this with Chair of Chair, and then eventually it goes to the Speaker to decide whether we can form such a body. So I think the questioning here would be only for clarity's sake, and then we as a committee will take a decision on the way forward, how we will deal with this matter. Honourable Reddy, you are first.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I actually don't have a question today. I just want to thank the presenters and to appreciate
Recording stopped.
And to appreciate
Recording
the
in
platform
progress.
that we are able to engage with others, especially around their experiences throughout the world. I want to support any move that brings us together. Let's see how best we can speed this up, because I think engaging with other countries who experience similar challenges and how they've overcome them can only augur well for us as South Africa. And in fact, we should embark on expanding our network of other countries. So I want to thank the presenters and thank yourself for facilitating this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Reddy. Honourable Kobe.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, allow me also to welcome the presentations that were given to us by the various speakers of the various legislative bodies across the country, and also the organization of WASH. Chair, I think it's very encouraging from the presentations given that I think as a portfolio committee, particularly with the work that we've done extensively over the last 2 years, I think we're almost ripe and ready to actually start a WASH caucus, considering the work that we've done under your leadership, Chair. I just wanted to ask one question with regards to the lessons learned. I think this is from the previous speaker who just presented. And she said it's important to establish informal relationships before formalizing a structure or establishing a formal structure. I just want to know what kind of challenges have they then encountered that informed her assessment that it is better to sort of start on an informal level in terms of engagement before formalizing a structure. Because us as a legislative body, it was sort of the opposite. We are coming within a formalized structure, and then now it's engagements that are moving into, a much more informal level with regards to the establishment of WASH. So I just want to know what challenges maybe did they encounter, and maybe if this is something that we can draw on before heading over to the next level. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we get a response on that?
So, in terms of the challenges that we faced, we only had very formalized engagement, and that would be if we were invited by, let's say, like a portfolio committee within the National Assembly. I mean, that would be the extent of our engagement with legislators, while the issues were going on. And over time, we kind of, sitting in those meetings, we were able to identify which members of parliament had a genuine curiosity about the issue. And sometimes if you listen to certain parliamentary debates, you could pick up one or two who would ask questions maybe during sittings in parliament. And so slowly, it was almost like we did kind of like a mapping, and in trying to avoid or to overcome rather the bureaucracy, after those meetings, we would engage. Some of them would walk up, my constituency is really in a remote area. We need more partner support. And of course, sometimes we'd be like sitting there like, no, but you're sitting next to the Minister of Finance. You need to ask for the money, for, but I think that some of those bureaucratic processes, in a sense, it's not as easy. It's not an easy thing to approach a politician, you understand, especially in a institutional kind of setup, you understand. So when we were able to connect with these people on a level of their own personal interest and leverage that interest, we then started to invite them more to our meetings. We have formalized engagements within the forum, so we started to invite them more to our meetings, and slowly with time. I think also John can take a lot of credit, like our colleagues in Uganda. John was like, are you sure you don't want to form a caucus in Zambia? I think the timing is great, and so these informal relationships over time helped garner the much needed speed that we needed to set up the caucus. So, and then also we had just come out of a very charged election. I think we were quite split as a country. And so I think that water, I don't know, it's the nature of the service, the nature of water itself. I think it gives something, there's something very unifying about it. And I think even in the first meeting when we kind of sold the idea to the members of parliament, they all said that by default, they all should be members of the caucus because each of them have that challenge in their constituencies. And so I think in a sense, it was able to unify the different members of parliament outside of their political association. And so those are some of the challenges off the top of my head that I could share. Yeah.
Thank you very much. John, would you like to add on challenges that we should look out for?
Chair, thank you. And if I could just follow on to what Wubula was saying there. One of the biggest challenges I've seen in trying to start these caucuses in differing countries is that sometimes they start, an honorable member will try to start a caucus. He or she will grab 2 or 3 other members. Water's important for everybody. And then they forget to informally communicate their interests to the chair of the water committee. And then the chair of the water committee might not understand what a caucus is, and he or she might not be welcoming to the formation of a parliamentary water or WASH caucus. So obviously that's not the case in this instance. In this instance, we have perhaps the opposite opportunity, where the chair of the water committee and the members of the water committee need to reach out to members of other committees with jurisdiction over water and public works and so on. And sometimes no relevant jurisdiction, no relevant committee or subcommittee assignments at all. These, I cannot overemphasize the importance of these informal communications between members of parliament and frankly between MPs, their staff, CSO leaders, and line ministries as well. It's one of my concluding remarks is about trust. And these are people, as Wubula and others have said. These are people doing business with people. And the informal, non-statutory ways of communicating with each other when you're in the early stages of consideration of a parliamentary WASH caucus is the key. So I'll leave it there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kobe, that is the responses so far. Are you satisfied, or would you like to have a follow-up?
Thank you very much, Chair. It's just a matter of, noting and appreciating that at least we have now an eye view from, civil society and people who really want to advance issues where us as MPs may have limitations because our constituencies could be fragmented. And I think this further just pulls in the point that we need a central meeting point where our constituencies can meet us, and maybe where there is, where we might, as political parties, have a limitation of reach, then have these voices that come up from the ground up to bring the issues to us in a formalized or in an institutionalized manner. So thank you for your responses. Very helpful in terms of advocating or reinforcing why this is a sort of necessary move. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kegakilwe.
Thank you, Chair. And let me also welcome all the presentations. They were well informative, well prepared and structured. And I fully agree that as South African Parliament, we really need to consider having the WASH in our country. I have 3 questions, Chairperson. The first one is with regard to the relationship between the WASH and the portfolio committees, and also to find out if there are no clashes with regard to the functions of the portfolio committee as well as to that of the WASH. The second one is with regard to the funding. How are they funded, and what is it that they are going to bring to the government to ensure that we really improve our water and sanitation services? And then the last question, Chair, is with regard to representativity of the caucus. Are all the areas in all the countries who has already established the caucus covered, looking at the rural, looking also at the urban areas? That is all that I wanted to ask, Chair, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Who would answer those questions?
I could answer some.
Thank you very much. Continue.
All right, thank you, Chair. So with respect to the clash in functions, for Zambia, I believe there hasn't been any. In fact, what we have tried to do is to, so for the water sector in Zambia, we have the Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism. They are the ones who have the governance function of holding the executive institutions accountable. So the Ministry of Water, the Minister of Water will appear before that particular committee when it relates to sector performance and any other thing that would rise. Then you have, of course, other parliamentary, similar to yours, portfolios that will have maybe it's public accounts, budgeting, and so on and so forth. But the caucus is just designed to informally address the issues that relate to water and sanitation. So like, for example, Honorable Tambo mentioned the fact that they can raise public member bills in Parliament to talk about, for example, if we needed something around menstrual hygiene management for girls in schools, that would be a vehicle. Someone from the caucus could raise up a private member's bill, and the others will rally behind that motion. When it comes to funding, well, fortunately for now, within the forum, we have a certain amount of resources that allows us to build the capacity of members of parliament. But the idea is that the caucus must be self-sustaining in a sense. So in other countries, and even ours, they're about to have a subscription fee that members of parliament contribute on an annual basis just to help with admin support. Then in our case, we have a desk officer that is assigned from the clerk's office in the National Assembly. And this person is the one who ensures all communication with the members is handled. He handles meetings. And of course, he has support from within the House. And I think it's a club. So ideally, one of the things even for us that we're trying to do is build the capacity of members of parliament to think of alternatives of how to fundraise for some of the initiatives that they would like to do jointly as a collective. What was the last one? Beg your pardon. I think,
the
okay,
presentation, how do you make sure that all the areas are represented on the committee?
In terms of our caucus, they're elected by the members of parliament. There's an executive committee that is, and the members of parliament elect on their own, and it's bipartisan. And then in terms of the caucus representation, it's open to every member of parliament. So there is no restriction. And as I mentioned, I think our caucus is sitting at something at 120, and we have a parliament of 150. So we have 30 more MPs to catch. So in a sense, it's really, you design the rules, you would then create your own constitution, and it's open to any member of parliament. It would therefore be open to any member of parliament in the South African National Assembly. There's no restriction, urban, peri-urban, rural, they would be a member, and that is the case for us.
Thank you. John, would you like to add something to that?
Just on that last note, thank you, Chair. That rural versus urban question is a good one from your colleague there. This is post-partisan. Water is important to every single human being. Every single job depends on water. The question gets to, in my mind, the equity challenges that my country faces as well. There were 2 million Americans in 2026 without safe drinking water, and we're doing our best to meet their needs. These are, as you might imagine, the most vulnerable, the most marginalized communities. So if Honorable Silas from Uganda were here, he would underscore the representation part. Sometimes the voices of these poor rural women in particular are not heard, and if they are heard, their legislators are unable or unwilling to act on those voices, to respond legislatively to those voices. So how do you do that? Well, I'm not sure, because this is a voluntary thing. A caucus is a club, it's a network, it's a friendship group. But one of the caucuses, forgive me, I can't remember which one, has has an executive committee, but then has a regional subgroups, sub-leadership committees within that caucus. That might be one way to make sure that the caucus accurately represents the needs of those vulnerable rural communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mindy, would you like to add something to this?
No, thank you, Chair. I'm also listening and learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kegakilwe, that was the responses. Are you satisfied?
Thank you, Chair. Very much satisfied.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Ditebe. Honorable Ditebe. Thank you. Honorable Member, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Very, very bad, but continue.
Hello.
Honorable, yes, can you continue?
Yeah, looks like I'm not. Looks like you can hear me, but I cannot hear you.
Yeah, Honorable Member, it's not clear. We can't hear you. Can you maybe just try another device? I believe you are still on the airport.
Oh, right. That's not
Colleagues,
very helpful.
I'm afraid we can't hear Honorable Ditebe. Is there any other member that would like to ask a question? Honorable Reddy, your hand is still up. Do you want to have a follow-up question?
That's a legacy hand, Chairperson. My apologies.
It's an old hand. Yeah. Colleagues, is there anybody else that would like to ask a question? Honorable Ditebe, can you maybe try again? Honorable Moore?
Thank you, Chair. Not so much a question, just a very big thank you, both to yourself for organizing the session, to our long-term friends from the US who facilitate these type of discussions, and particularly our fellow parliamentarians from our fellow African nations. These type of learning is crucial, and it's clearly we're behind the curve in terms of the establishment of a WASH caucus, especially to bring in, I think in the committee chair, we work quite well across party lines, but it's going to be important to bring in members from other committees as well to this caucus. And it's been a very eye-opening discussion, lots of learnings, but more to come. And just a very big thank you to our fellow parliamentarians and the civil society team at large. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ramaila?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. Let me also welcome the informative presentations that have been made. And generally, I think the objective of this caucus would be very important. However, I may want to find out from the experience of those who have already established as to how will we insulate ourselves first as members of parliament, and secondly, the parliament itself that we serve from entangling ourselves in a mechanism that might open a front to manipulate parliamentary process in order to serve nefarious agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would respond to that? John, can you maybe respond to that?
Well, Chair, I was actually, with your permission, I was going to volunteer Mendy, who I think did a great job of what caucuses are and are not. Mendy, can I offer the floor to Mendy, Chair?
It's fine. Honorable Ditebe, can you maybe just mute yourself for now, and then I will take a question from you after this. Mendy?
Thank you for that. As I'd said, in terms of civil society organizations, and it would be set out in the terms of reference that everyone signs and agrees to, they only merely support, especially on a secretarial part, and also with providing the knowledge, the data, and being the knowledge broker and that policy broker between the community and the MPs. Under no circumstance do we get involved in the politics. Our political affiliations, whether it's an organization or individuals, does not come into play when dealing with this. And so that's why you need more than one civil society organization, not just one, because then you might run the risk of thinking they are pushing their own agendas, and and just keeping things transparent. I hope I did answer that. So I do understand the fear in a non-governmental or a non-regulated organization coming into the MP space, but those things would be ironed out in the beginning in the formation, whether through informal settings or once it's formalized. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ramaila.
Thank you, Chair. Verified.
And Chair, if I might,
you're welcome.
Honorable Ramaila, thank you, Chair. From the perspective of the caucuses themselves, rather than civil society organizations on the outside, a strong constitution, a strong terms of reference is necessary for the long-term success of any caucus on any issue. A diverse membership helps to avoid some of the risks that you foresee with a parliamentary WASH caucus, and open, transparent dialogues within the caucus membership and between the caucus membership and line ministries, and frankly subnational, in South Africa's case, provincial parliamentary WASH caucuses might be something to consider as well. So there were various. I hear you on the risks that you might foresee here. I've personally never experienced that, but I have vastly imperfect information about the internal workings of these caucuses. We all have our biases. Some members are going to be more biased towards water security, towards sanitation, towards wastewater treatment, towards WASH in healthcare facilities, WASH in schools. Those are good biases and worthy of healthy debates within the confines of a parliamentary WASH caucus. So thank you for the question.
Can I maybe ask a question on the caucus that, would it be advisable that members of the portfolio committee do not serve on that, and that it is a separate caucus that does not influence the portfolio committee or vice versa? Would you feel that it would be advisable if this caucus does not include, especially in the leadership of the caucus, that is separate, and that you've got this arm length between the portfolio committee and the caucus? Can you maybe give an idea or clarity on how that should work? John, if I start with you.
Well, yeah, thank you, Chair. That's a very insightful question, and I need to be diplomatic in my response. The answer to your question is yes. I think it is advisable to not have the chair of a committee or portfolio committee on water or with broad jurisdiction over water or WASH. I don't think that person should chair a parliamentary WASH caucus. Of course, water is important to the chair of a parliamentary committee on water or on public works or something like that. But also, of course, water is important to every single member of parliament and her or his family and children and neighbors and so on. In our caucus in the United States, yes, there is one member of the Parliament, of the Congressional Global Water Security Caucus, who is a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. There is a member who is of our caucus, who's a member of the House Appropriations Committee. But none of the other members of our Congressional Global Water Security Caucus sit on any committees or subcommittees with any jurisdiction over foreign affairs, much less over safe drinking water and sanitation. So it gets back to this diversity of membership. It's also a little bit optics. If the chair of the Water Committee is the chair of the Water Caucus, of course, water is important to that individual and his or her executive committee and leadership committee. So why not? Why not broaden the membership at the highest level? I think that would actually benefit the caucus greatly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ditebe, I'm not sure whether your sound is better. Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, Chairperson, can you hear me now?
You are. 100%.
Thank you very much, Chair. One of the presenters actually spoke about institutional memory, which is preserved by those in the Secretariat in respect of the activities of the civil society organizations, and I think by extension, the WASH Caucus, etc. Now, from the point of view of the operational activities, who funds, and I heard, of course, the fact that the members of parliament are required to at least make an annual contribution, but I'm not so sure whether that will be enough to cover the cost. And perhaps I'm confusing the overheads of CSOs and the WASH caucuses, if that could be clarified. The last one, Chair, while indeed I would agree that the agenda of the WASH caucuses in Parliament must not be bogged down by narrow party political positions, but from a policy perspective, and I don't think it's likely in the case of South Africa, maybe elsewhere, but what if you have a situation where there is a climate change denialist who has a very loud voice. Obviously, from the point of view of policy, such a person is highly likely to derail the business of the caucus. And we see that all over the world, where some people are, as a matter of ideology, one could say, opposed to the phasing out of fossil fuels or fossils as a source of energy for us around the world. And we all know the devastating effects of climate change. And we saw that with the example, I think it was in Zambia, with the video where people are being retrained as far as the effects of climate change. So still that can be a strong policy position for or against climate change. Thank you.
Any response? John, can I go to you?
Chair, thank you. If Honorable Silas from Uganda were here, or if his civil society counterpart, Ms. Unia Musaazi, were here, they would be able to better address that funding question than I can. But just quickly, in the case of Uganda and in the case of the United States, the leadership of the Congressional Global Water Security Caucus and of the Parliamentary Forum on WASH in Uganda, the leadership provides staff support. The leadership of the National Assembly, the leadership of our House of Representatives provides staff support. These aren't full-time people providing, but 5% of a parliamentary staff person's time here, 25% of a parliamentary staff person's time there. And Wubala will correct me on this, but I believe the Speaker of the National Assembly provided a parliamentary clerk to support the work of the Parliamentary Caucus on WASH in Zambia. So these caucuses don't cost money, but they do cost people, and people cost money. And I acknowledge that, and that's one of the challenges here. Caucuses on environment, on climate, on health, on artificial intelligence. These caucuses are also often supported by international donors with those interests at heart. These are not multi-billion-dollar water and sanitation infrastructure projects. Caucuses are not expensive, but they do require the people, and they do require some small expenses for snacks, transportation, meeting expenses, and that sort of thing. And I acknowledge that. On the climate change denialist voice is of course very timely, very relevant, still and it's not just that one particular issue, a very strong orator who feels very strongly about any particular issue will make, as many people do, an attempt to sway the conversation. And that's where you all come in. That's where the leadership committee of that particular caucus comes in. There are different ways to handle that. That's people doing business with people. But it is good to put those sorts of threats, if I can use such a strong word, on the table at this very early stage of the conversation. So thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you. I think in our committee, especially on water and sanitation, although we are from different political parties, politics do not play a role. Water is life, and sanitation in our case is also dignity. So that is where we focus on and try and keep out the politics out of water, because people can't drink politics, they can only drink water. So I think in that case, that is how we in the committee deals with it, and hopefully if we establish a committee, that would be more or less where the thinking would be it should go. Honorable Ditebe, that was the responses. Are you satisfied with the response?
Yes, I am, Chair. Thank you very much. Perhaps to say lastly that I think in our parliament we already have a precedent in the sense that we have women of all political parties coming under the umbrella of the Women's Caucus to focus on gender and all related issues, particularly gender-based violence and femicide. So there already is a multi-party caucus focusing on gender issues in our parliament. So it's a determination that we will have to make, as John said, that it doesn't, of course, seem to cost money, but you do need the human resource. So the material resource must follow the human resource. So in that sense, yes. But to the extent that the leadership of Parliament, presiding officers can be conferred with, advised, and we look at all the implications and ramifications of stuff that can be dedicated to such a caucus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kobe, you had your hand up. Was there a question that you would like to ask?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I was just wondering about the participation of members of this portfolio committee in the WASH caucus. I was intermittently kicked out, and I think it's network issue. So if that issue was dealt with, my apologies. But I'd just like to know that, is there sort of a conflict of interest if members of this portfolio committee serve there, or does it edify the work that the WASH caucus could do and potentially get from members who are already in an existing portfolio committee like this one, the Water and Sanitation, where we could contribute meaningfully? If this was addressed, my apologies, but I would like a response. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, there was a response on that. That's a question I've asked. John, maybe for her sake, can you maybe just, from your side, I don't want to use my words, if you maybe could answer that question maybe again.
Of course, Chair. And then with your permission, maybe we could give Honorable Silas from Uganda, who has rejoined us, an opportunity to answer this and following questions as well from his status as a member of Parliament. Honorable Kobe, good question. And there's no right answer to it. My suggestion would be that a parliamentary WASH caucus be led by members of that legislative body who do not have leadership roles within the committees of jurisdiction. So, the chair of the parliamentary WASH caucus in any country should probably not have any relevant committee assignments or subcommittee assignments, just to avoid, let's call it bad optics, or just to minimize the threat of perceived conflicts of interest there. So a member of the Health Committee, a member of the Finance Committee, of the Public Works Committee, you name the committee, as is the case with the global water security in the United States. There were very few members of that parliamentary WASH caucus in my country who have jurisdiction over, in this case, foreign affairs, the relevant parts of our legislative portfolio. So, good question. And as I tried to before, I want to be diplomatic in my response, knowing that your portfolio committee has made this meeting happen here. I think it would benefit the Parliamentary WASH Caucus in South Africa, and I think it would benefit the portfolio committee's legislative priorities if the leadership of that WASH caucus came from committees far beyond the Portfolio Committee on Water. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Silas, would you like to add to this response?
I hope you can get me.
I can hear you.
Sorry, I'd run out a little because of committee efforts back in Kampala. So I just wanted to share about what we have gone through. For instance, in our parliament, we have various fora. There is a specific forum which is handling issues of social protection. The current chairperson of the forum is also the current chairperson of the portfolio committee responsible for gender and issues of social protection. So whereas there are issues that you might consider to be issues of conflict of interest, again, on our side, we look at it like it is a window for us. Sorry, it's a window for us to have our issues easily accepted by the committee. But what that particular forum has done is that on a day when the forum is going to appear before the committee, another person is given to chair the forum and represent the chairperson. But I think the most important thing is that our fora are more of informal, much as they are formalized within the parliament. So it makes the direct difference between the forum and the portfolio committees. Whereas the portfolio committees so much dwell on formalities, too much bureaucracy, asking for permission here and there. These caucuses have the time and the chance to caucus on issues quickly and draw a way forward, but also bring the rest of the partners to one unifying platform to have things run smoothly. I hope I understood the question, and I hope I've said something. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kobe, are you satisfied with the response?
Yes, Chair, thank you. My apologies again for taking the meeting back, but thank you for your indulgence. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you. Colleagues, I think that is the last of questions, and I would like us now to go to closing remarks. And I wonder whether, Honorable Silas, would you honor us and give your closing remarks on this meeting? And then I would go to John as well and the other members as well.
Much for the opportunity. So as we close this particular engagement, allow me to take this opportunity to thank all of you, starting with the chairperson, the conveners, the moderator of the day. You've done quite well, and we are really so impressed. And thank you to everybody for dedicating your time. Whatever we are doing here is for the good of our people. And remembering that SDG 6, we need to achieve it by 2030. Most of us are still lagging behind. We're not yet there. So these fora are meant to help us, the caucuses are meant to help us to accelerate the progress. And it's very, very important to notice that now in Liberia, we have a caucus responsible for WASH. In Zambia, we have the same. In South Africa, the giant has a caucus. And that is good news. South Sudan is meant to be on board, but because of a few domestic challenges that they are facing, maybe that's why we didn't have them here today. But I know in the next engagement, they'll equally be on board. So it's a big thing. And for me, this meeting was a big beginning. Let us make these caucuses a reality that can help us to accelerate progress in the chapter of WASH. And more so in terms of increasing appropriation within our domestic resources. We have a duty to make sure that our committees help in parliaments to raise the budgets towards WASH. You know, WASH is a right, and we want to accelerate access to this right. And this will change our future, and this will change our journey. So I want to thank you all, and I want to wish everybody well. I know the next time maybe where we are convening, how I wish it were possible for us to have a physical meeting to encourage one another. It would be good for us to start and have one in Kampala. How I wish that we got resources and then we call all of you, invite you, let us take 1 week, enjoy Africa, enjoy Uganda, enjoy WASH, see what we are doing, visit our small office, and then you also visit our Speaker of Parliament, and you see and you listen from her and understand the kind of support that we are enjoying from the government of the Republic of Uganda. Also together with the network of the organizations which are in WASH. So the WASH CSOs, which are in Kampala here and Uganda. So we thank you so much. This was a big opportunity for us, and I hope this is only the beginning. Things will be much more better and bigger. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. John, your closing remarks?
Great. Thank you, Chair. I'll be very brief here. First of all, thank you, every single one of you, for giving us the opportunity to come together and to discuss this. Secondly, I want to underscore one point, that this is not a revolutionary concept we're talking about here. Caucuses are a proven entity in almost every legislative body in the world. Honorable Ditebe mentioned the multi-party women's caucus in South Africa. So the procedures are there. We don't have to convince anybody that a caucus for WASH is a good idea. But of course, the challenge, the devil is in the details, as we like to say. Third, Wubala mentioned that I said that the timing a couple of years ago was great in Zambia for such a caucus. I say that the timing is great in South Africa for such a caucus as well, but perhaps for different reasons. A lot of people around the world, especially in the water sector, are looking to South Africa for leadership after the Day Zero incident in Cape Town, where the taps literally almost ran dry in 2018. Where are the next 10, 20 Day Zeros likely to happen? And what can those cities, what can those countries learn from how South Africa dealt with that from a political and legislative standpoint? That was not easy, but people are looking to South Africa for leadership. Lastly, on the big picture of funding, if we're talking about the donor community, whether it's the multilaterals like the World Banks or bilaterals like the Northern European governments or my government here in the United States, donors don't want to lead. Donors want to follow. Donors want to respond to demand from these countries, to leadership from these countries. So the more that any country can lead on safe drinking water and sanitation, the more likely it is that the donor community or the multilateral community will respond. If you say, here's the problem, here's how we're solving it, and here's how our external partners can help us accelerate progress, that's a much more compelling partnership opportunity than simply holding one's hand out. So I think that increased domestic leadership for water is likely to bear fruits on the international front with external partners as well. But I'll close my closing remarks once again with a thank you, Chair. Over.
Thank you. Ms. Mumba, would you like to have a closing remark?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say thank you very much to the organizers of this very important interaction for the privilege to share. I wish you great deliberations following this conversation that we've had. I look forward to hearing that the caucus has been set up in your National Assembly. And as I've mentioned, we are willing to walk the walk with you. Even though we're also like a baby in this process, we're also learning how to walk. I think there's lots to learn from the different countries that are at the different stages in the caucus. And we are rooting for you. Thank you so much again, Chair.
Thank you very much. Ms. Shozi?
Hi, apologies, I've changed locations. I need to go to a meeting. But thank you, I suppose, to John, who approached me with this idea a few years ago, and now we're seeing the fruition of it and being able to discuss with this parliamentary committee is a dream realized, I suppose. So I'm excited to see where we continue and how it goes. And thank you as well to Tomani for the support. I know it's taken long. And thank you to the members for us taking your time in your meeting as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. May I ask Honourable Ramahila to maybe do closing remarks on behalf of the committee?
Thank you very much. And I think this opportunity has opened our horizon of understanding in terms of global approach in as far as WASH Caucus is concerned. Thank you very much for the presentations and the time that all the presenters took to make themselves available on this platform today. We would like to appreciate that, and thank you very much for you to having facilitated this meeting and having invited the WASH Caucus to make presentation to this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Ramaila. Colleagues, thank you very much. And I really appreciate everybody. And John, what is the time there now? I don't know whether you will be able to go and sleep, but thank you for availing yourself. It's very early morning. We're moving to 12 o'clock, and we've got a parliamentary sitting at 2. So all our members need to move on. I really appreciate everybody being present. We will communicate again with each and every one. We will most probably assign Tomani to do us a report and the way forward so that we can communicate this with our chair of chairs and the speaker of parliament and see whether we can establish such a committee for parliament. Thank you once again. May I then ask that members of this committee just stay behind. I quickly want to discuss something shortly with you. It will only take 2-3 minutes. But all our guests, thank you very much and have a blessed day.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Colleagues, thank you very much. I just would like quickly to discuss a issue on the Water Services Act that came up, so that committee members are 100% on board what the situation is. Now, we all know that it went through the committee. We are in the process of public participation that closes on the 28th of this month. And then we will look at the public comments on the Services Act. But in the meantime, on Friday afternoon, I received a letter from NETLAC that indicated that they were not part and parcel of the process. The department did not invite them to make their presentations on the amendments of the Act. And they wrote the letter to say that they want us to postpone this matter for 3 months. I had a discussion with the DG concerning this matter because it was something that went wrong with them. The DG indicated that the state attorneys feel that NETLAC did not need to make any presentation because it's an amendment of the Act. I had a discussion with Tumani, and we now asked legal opinion from Parliament on the way forward. Can we postpone this matter? Must we postpone this matter? I also had a follow-up discussion with the DG, where they will send us in writing the recommendations from the state attorneys. So I just want everybody to be on board that there is some sort of a stalemate in this. We don't want to proceed if it could be a problem, but we also don't want to stall if there is no problem. So we will, on an urgent basis, report back to the committee as soon as we've got the report from the state attorneys as well as parliamentary legal advice on the way forward concerning this matter. There was previously a situation like this where it was in transport, where the minister, then the advice was that the minister had to withdraw the Act and then start afresh. So let's not run this away with this. Let's just see what the responses and advice the committee gets, and then we will inform the committee on the advice we received from the state attorneys from the department side. as well as from Parliament's legal advice. I just felt that it is important that we inform you on this matter, and when we get the advice, I will request the committee to have an urgent meeting just to take it forward and take a decision on what is the role we are going to take. May I also then maybe just ask Tumani just to add on, because Tumani is dealing with the legal advice from Parliament. Maybe Tumani, if you would like to add something if it's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, unfortunately, that is the situation where we find ourselves. What we have done now, we have requested the legal advice to give us an advice, but from precedence standpoint is that there was an incident where the NEDLEC was not consulted, and remember, NEDLEC is a statutory body established through an act of Parliament. There are certain legislations that cannot be processed without first being debated at that level. And that is the issue that we find ourselves in. And the issue now, the NEDLEC, like they're saying that they've not been consulted and they would like to be given the opportunity to be consulted. But the implications of that action, we don't know what it will be legally and otherwise, because insofar as public participation is concerned, once those institutions that are represented by NEDLEC, once they've given their inputs, those inputs must also still be shared with the general public. So in this case, it means that process, even if we give them three months to deal with the legislation, with the department, but after that, then Parliament continues. So there will be that gap, which means it might be an issue if it goes to court and so on. So, but let's wait for the legal advice. Once it's on the table, then we will do as Chairperson has advised, and then we take it from there. So, but this is just an oversight from, but of course, from the department. But of course, it was under advice from the state law, so advisors to the department. So, but let's take it by the ear and see what happens. Yeah. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Tumani. Any member that quickly wants to just make a comment on this? Okay, it seems not. Colleagues, then we will
comment, Chair. Is that a good enough comment?
Yeah, thank you. I think let's wait then for the legal advice and also see what the state attorney says. We don't want to be caught in the middle between the department and NEDLEC. If there is a quarrel between NEDLEC and the department, they must deal with that. Selo, I see you've got your hand up. Honorable Ditebe.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think following on what Tumani said, NEDLEC is a very important chamber, and in terms of the history of our constitution, there is a reason why it is created. So in particular with reference to socioeconomic impact of any legislation, etc., we must indeed not just play it by the ear, but have a very clear understanding legally, that is, as to what the implications and ramifications will be like if, for example, this postponement is not granted equally. What will it mean? And I think Tumani has already spoken to that, if it is granted. But I'm not quite certain as to why is it that NEDLEC itself is such an important chamber, which discusses a whole range of issues relating to the socioeconomic issues in our country, would just stand by idly and come in at the last minute. So I'm just appealing for certainty so that we don't just wait indefinitely. because that will create a lot of problems for us in respect of this. Thank you, Chair. Sorry
Thank you
for
very
the
much.
noise in the background.
Yeah, so that is exactly what we are doing. We don't want to get in between the department, and if they did not honor what they should have honored, then we've got to bail them out. If we need to bail out, we need to make sure that everybody is on board on that, but that will also delay our process as well. But let's be led by the legal opinion, and then the committee can take an informed decision on the way forward. I hope we can leave it with that, and as soon as we get the legal opinion, we will call a special meeting and we will distribute the legal opinion to members so that we can then discuss this. If that is then all, I would like then to thank everybody and then adjourn this meeting. Thank you and see you later in the house.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
Thank you, Chair.